Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're going to be taking a look at the build, the Slayer. Now before I get started, because I put these in the end of my last videos, a build is just a template, it is not set in stone, so if there's anything about these builds that you don't like, skill setup, traits, Mundus stones, enchants, any of that stuff, you are welcome to change it to fit your own needs. A build is just a template. It is not a standard that you have to play by or live by. It's just an idea. Now that that's out of the way, this is the Slayer. Now the Slayer is technically based on a dwarven class from the excuse me, Warhammer game stuff. They have it in the Vermintide, they have it in Warhammer Chaos, they have it in a lot of different Warhammer stuff because it was a really popular unit to use in the Warhammer games, but this version comes more or less from the Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning or Return of Reckoning game, and I just took the idea that they have there, brought it here, and put it into an ESO format. So there's going to be a lot of differences, but you're going to see why it works the way it does. So let's go ahead and take a look at the build itself. Starting with the race, we are an Orc Dragonknight, so that's an interesting combination for this. A lot of people are going to wonder why. You'll see as we get further into it. Going into our attributes, we have 64 points into our stamina. This gives us a 17k max magic, a 20k health, 30k max stamina. We do have a 601 mag recovery, 341 health recovery, but our stamina recovery is coming in at 1015. We have a 3355 weapon damage with a 51% weapon critical. We have 1606 spell damage with 21% spell critical, 32 spell resist with a 14,782 physical resist, and then of course the base 1320 crit resist. This right here, this stamina recovery, weapon damage, weapon critical, holy cow, this thing is a beast, let me tell you. Alright, moving on, we have the Thief Mundus Stone for the higher crit chance and critical rating. We do have major savagery at all times, and we are using tri-stat food. Now, you don't have to use these. Again, these are just my recommendations. So, going over the potions real quick and food. So, Dubious Cameron Throne is one of the food types you can use. This will increase your max stamina recovery by 315, health by 2856, and stamina by that, and health by 3094. So, both, that's a really good food. And then, of course, the tri-stat food, Longfin Pasty with melon sauce. This is one of many tri-stat foods that you can get at CP 150 or above. This gives you all three stats: health, magic, and stamina. Great food for that purpose. Potion-wise, anything that gives you stamina, the major endurance, the major brutality, and major savagery is going to be the potion of choice. And it's mainly for that major brutality and major savagery, even though you're going to be getting those with some of the skills and the stuff that this build uses. If you're not using those skills, these are going to be great. Alright, so now that we've done that, let's go ahead and go over our gear sets. And this is a unique one, because we're not running a monster set. So I'm going to start with the 5-piece on the chest, arms, belt, legs, and feet, and then we'll move on to the one that is the jewelry, head, and shoulders. So starting with the first set, this is the Venomous Smite set. Now this actually drops in the new Skyrim DLC or chapter. Sorry, the new chapter, which is awesome. So the 2-piece adds weapon critical, 3-piece weapon critical, 4-piece weapon damage. And then the 5-piece, dealing critical damage inflicts Hunter's Venom. on an enemy for 10 seconds, dealing 2,868 poison damage to the target and enemies within 6 meters of them for 1 second. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds you can apply this, and it lasts for 10 seconds. Not only does it hit the target, but it hits the surrounding targets within a 6-meter radius as well. Very good set. Probably one of the best dot sets for anyone playing this kind of setup. So, really good. The next set that we are going to look at is our primarily jewelry, but it is also our head and shoulders. And that is the Witch Kings, or Witch Knights set. Witch Knights Defiant set. Now, this drops in the new DLC for the Markarth DLC. So you have the the Skyrim chapter, which came out this year, and it added this set, or the first set, and then the second set came out of Markarth, which 2-piece adds weapon damage, 3-piece weapon damage, 4-piece weapon damage, and then the 5-piece. Increase your weapon damage by 369 against enemies inflicted with a poison damage effect. Now, here's the funny thing. Poison damage effect. And it adds 369 weapon damage to all damage you do. So it's really crazy. But it's a really good setup. Now, moving on to the other two things we're running. Now, these are on our weapons, and this is why we're not running a monster set. So, our front weapons, we are running the Master's set. And the 2-piece bonus from this, Twin Slashes deals 1635 more damage for each hit of the initial attack and bleed. Now, this is the imperfect version. This is just the base version you can get from normal play. And it works out really good. If you can get the perfected version from veteran play, even better. Get it in Axes, though. You'll find out later why. Next up, the Maelstrom Bow. Awesome set. So 2-piece, increase the damage of your volley that your volley deals by 430 each tick. The bonus increases by 143 every tick. Volley ticks up to a maximum of 8 times. So it starts at 430 damage extra, and then it goes up 143 every tick after that. So it's gonna do its base damage of volley or endless hail or arrow barrage, and then it's going to tick up increased after that. So really crazy combination here how this works. It's just a lot of damage over time. That's what this build is made to do. So going over traits and enchants. So starting with the head, chest, and legs. Enchant wise, we're running Tri-Stats. This is going to give you that greater resource of Magicka, health, and stamina. The head and the legs, we are running Invigorating. This is a medium armor setup too. So you are running a medium helm, medium legs, medium arms, medium... Oh, it's an all medium setup. So you're not going to have any heavy armor or anything. So I forgot about that. So complete medium armor setup. But we do still go with the reinforced on the chest. And that reinforced enchantment or trait is going to increase your armor to 2417. It doesn't quite give you as much armor as you would normally get if you had a heavy chest and a light belt. But we are running a 7-piece medium armor setup here. I keep forgetting that this one's like that. I do apologize. Going over the smaller pieces, we're running Divines, enchants, or traits with stamina enchants. This is going to maximize your enchants, and then with that Invigorating helm and legs, it does give you a little bit more mag recovery and stam recovery. It's primarily to push our stam recovery higher. So, moving on to jewelry, 2 Trirune rings with weapon damage, with the necklace being Bloodthirsty and a stam recovery on it. Now, the Bloodthirsty is an interesting one because it increases your weapon and spell damage against enemies under 90% health by up to 350, which is a lot more than what you had before. So this helps you just stack a lot of weapon and spell damage on top of the rest of the stuff. Now, moving on to the 2 axes, we are running 1 infused, 1 Nirnhoned. You can use sharpened if you don't have Nirnhoned until you can change the trait to Nirnhoned. But the enchants we're using an infused one here with a poison damage enchant. This is a better way of getting the poison effect applied, and then that way you get that extra 369 weapon damage. So the Master's offhand, the Nirnhoned, we do have an absorb stamina enchant. This deals physical damage and restores stamina, and that Nirnhoned increases the overall weapon damage of your offhand, which then boosts the main hand weapon damage by a small amount. Now, if you go Nirnhoned here and the offhand infused, like go Nirnhoned infused, you just change the enchants around. You go with the offhand being poison and the main hand being the infused, the absorbed stamina, and you'll get a variable difference in your weapon damage, but it really depends on how you play. Moving on now to the main back bar, we are running an infused bow with a weapon damage enchant. Now this increases both weapon and spell damage. We're 452 for 5 seconds, but because it's infused, it will pretty much get reapplied every 3 seconds. So really, really good there. Alright, moving on now to skills. And as always with all my skill setups, I am going to tell you unlock all your class abilities and passives, because you never know when you're going to need them for different things. So I always suggest you do that. The same thing applies to your weapon skills and passives, your armor skills and passives. So we are a medium armor build, so you're going to want to unlock the medium armor active ability here, and all the passives related to what you're using. So it's just medium armor, so you just want to unlock that. World skills, soul magic, really good to unlock the passives and the active abilities there. Not necessarily super important, but it does help. The guild stuff, Fighters Guild, I unlock all the active abilities and passives normally. I skipped one for some reason. And then the same thing here with active abilities and passives. Sigic Order, active abilities, passives, and then the Undaunted, active abilities, passives. On the Alliance War skills, now these are ones used for PvP. If you do a lot of PvP, I would suggest unlocking all the skills and passives, because you never know, again, when you might need them in that situation. But for PvE, Aggressive Horn, Echoing Vigor, and Caltrop are really good for PvE or PvP. And then the support line, Replenishing Barrier, Efficient Purge, Stalwart Guard, and then the Magic Aid can help as well. Orc skills, get your passives, and then crafting, alchemy, and provisioning, the Gourmet Connoisseur here, and then the medicinal use here. Really good passives to have at high level in game stuff, but you know, when you can get it unlocked is going to be better. Alright. Now, with all builds, we're going to go over the skills we have equipped. Now, these aren't necessarily what you have to run. Again, you can change these. Starting with the first skill, we do have Rending Slashes. Great ability, does good damage over time. Does damage up front, does damage over 10 seconds, and it also reduces the movement speed of the enemy that you hit for 4 seconds by 30%. Next up, we have Venomous Claws, which deals damage up front, damage over 14 seconds. It does, the poison seeps into the target and deals increased damage the longer it lasts, dealing 20% more damage every 2 seconds. Enemies hit by the initial hit are afflicted with the poison status effect. So you will have the poison status effect on them a lot. Our next ability is Noxious Breath. Now this one, you exhale and it corrosive blast of poison damage up front, damage over 14 seconds, and then the afflicted enemies also are affected by Major Breach, reducing their physical and spell resistance. Now this actually covers a 10-meter radius cone in front of you. So it comes out of your mouth, and 10 meters in front of you, everything hit does get that Major Breach, and it gets that poison damage over time, which is fantastic for the way this build plays. Next up, we do have Deadly Cloak, another way of applying more damage over time. So this does give you major evasion, reducing damage from area attacks. It also deals damage every second. The shrapnel pulses, dealing physical damage to all enemies within 5 meters. Great AoE damage. Again, you got AoE damage, AoE damage. Perfect for the way this build plays. Next up, we do have Camouflage Hunter. Now, this does give you increased weapon critical while slotted. This is where we're getting that major savagery. And then you also gain minor berserk for 5 seconds after you deal critical damage from an enemy's flank, increasing your damage done by 5%. So you have to attack them from behind, but it's not hard to do that in ESO. I mean, you want to stay out moving and stuff while you're in combat, but like boss encounters, it's easy to get behind them with your DPS and your healer possibly to do that. And getting that extra 5% damage does do wonders. I know a lot of people are like, but that's not really that a lot. But when you're dealing 14k damage over, you know, a certain amount of time, or 15k in this case, that 15k now does 5% more damage during that process. Plus you get that extra 20% damage every 2 seconds. It's really crazy. Next up, we have Flawless Dawnbreaker. Now this is your primary. This is the one I would suggest you use a lot, your ultimate. This does a cone in 10 meters, very much like the Noxious Breath. It does damage up front, it does damage over 6 seconds, and also increases your weapon damage by 300 for 20 seconds. I spam the snot out of this. Moving on to the back bar, where our bow is. We have our first ability, Barbed Trap. Now this is kind of a weird one. You drop it down, it activates after 1.5 seconds. It lasts 1 minute, so 60 seconds. And what it does is when triggered, the trap deals physical damage and additional physical damage over 18 seconds and grants you minor force, increasing your critical damage done by 10% for the duration. Enemies who activate the trap are immobilized for 2 seconds. Really good for PvE and PvP use. So next up, we do have Poison Injection. This one, you shoot a poison arrow at your enemy, dealing X amount of damage up front, X amount of damage over 10 seconds. And this is also kind of a minor execute. It deals 100% more damage to enemies under 50% health. So under half health, they will start taking more damage. And then, of course, we also have our Endless Hail. Now, this is also known as Volley. This is where our Maelstrom Bow will come into play. Also, the Twin Slashes plays off of this. So what it does is when you hit with the Twin Slash, or the Stinging Slashes, Stinging Slashes set, it will deal 1,635 more damage for each hit of the initial attack and bleed. So, Twin Slashes, Rending Slashes, will do 1,300 more damage each hit that it takes damage. So really good there. And then with the Arrow Barrage, the same thing applies here. It gets that extra 400 and something damage up front, and then 100 and something damage each tick. It helps. Next up, and this is kind of optional, you don't have to use this, Molten Armaments. This is one I just like to use. Charge your weapon, you and your group's allied weapons with volcanic power to gain major brutality and sorcery, increasing weapon and spell damage by 20% for 36 seconds. And your own damage with heavy attacks is increased by 50% while active. Now, I'm going to explain why that's important when I talk about the rotation here in a second. The Camouflage Hunter again, and then our last ability here is an ultimate that if you aren't using Dawnbreaker, this is hands down going to be better for you, and that is the Standard of Might. This one, you call down a standard that deals flame damage every second for 20 seconds to the enemies, applying major defile to them, reducing their healing received and health recovery by 16%. But standing in the area increases your damage done and reduces your damage taken by 15%. It is also a synergy, so somebody can activate it, and it will deal activate the Shackle synergy, dealing flame damage to the enemies and immobilizing them for 5 minutes. So it's got a really powerful effect there. Now, if you don't want to use this one either, there is another one. Earth and Heart has this thing called Corrosive Armor. This, you oxidize yourself in Green Dragon's Blood. It will heal you for 3% of your max health and dealing 1,216 poison damage to nearby enemies each second for 12 seconds. And then while active, your ability, this ability and your direct damage dealt ignores your enemy's physical resistance. So all these things just go right through their resistances and you're dealing maximum damage. It does cost 200 ultimate, which is really high in my opinion, compared to the Undaunted's, or sorry, yeah, the Fighters Guild Flawless Dawnbreaker, which is 125. So, but that is pretty much the setup here. Now, I am going to show you a quick rotation on the Centurion so you can see how the build works when it comes to how you apply damage. So the build is really simple. You want to put your trap down, you want to light attack, poison injection, light attack, endless hail. You want to make sure your buff's up. Rending slashes, light attack, that light attack, that light attack. So you're going through that, and then you're going to heavy attack. The reason for this is because you get all these things that last for these like incredibly long amount of times. So it's just pretty much that. Why isn't this endless hail working? But it is that. It's keeping the dots applied and then just heavy attacking. You can usually get 3 off before you need to switch, or possibly even 4 before you need to switch to the back bar and then do it again. So that's how the build works when it comes to its DPS or its rotation. Now, we're going to go ahead and take this into a dungeon setting or scenario. Of course, my favorite place to test. Depths of Malatar. Easy to get to the first boss encounter, but only because there is 2 large trash packs you have to get there or go through to get there. So it kind of gives you a good understanding of how the build works, both in trash fights or NPC fights to even a boss encounter. So this way it kind of just gives you that overall like understanding of it. Not necessarily to reflect the overland play or dungeons or public dungeons, delves, that kind of thing, but really just to explain the overall, like, hey, here is the build, this is what it's like. You know, figure out for yourself if this is something you want to play. Alright, so buff and get ready because we are going to do some damage. Now, you will take a lot of damage because of the fact that you have nothing here, but just to show you this, like, everything's already dead. That's how fast this thing deals damage. And it's all because we got all that stuff that stacks up our weapon damage, and our weapon damage literally goes to almost 5k. So it's insane how much damage this build does. Now, because we are going in here, we're going to go against a boss encounter. I'm going to go ahead and drop the Molten Armaments and grab the Green Dragon's Blood for the heal. I might even switch depending on how this does. Alright, and just to show you guys, I mean, 315 whatever, and then 3,412 there, really crazy. I'm going to go ahead and switch that now again because I realize that I just don't have the healing, so I'm going to go just, and this is what I mean by situational play. So we're going to put Echoing Vigor there, and this is just to give us that heal over time so we're not getting annihilated super quick. When you play DPS, you sacrifice a lot of stuff, so I'm just going to let you know that now. Yeah, I knew I was gonna die. But that's the whole point. Like, the build is made for high damage, really fast damage over time. And when you have all these things ticking at ridiculous amounts, the damage you deal is just insane. You drop things faster than most people. And as you can see also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I dropped Dawnbreaker right in the beginning. Dropped it, and it's already refilled. So if that tells you anything, you get Dawnbreaker really fast. And here's one of the reasons why you get Dawnbreaker really fast with this build. One of the things you have to understand is the Earthen Heart has a passive in here called Mountain's Blessing. When you cast an Earthen Heart ability, you gain minor brutality, but you also generate 3 ultimate every 6, you can only get it every 6 seconds, but every time you cast an Earthen Heart ability, you get that. So remember, the only Earthen Heart ability we're primarily using is Molten Armaments. Great ability, gives you that major brutality, but also the reason for the heavy attacking, right here. Your own damage with heavy attacks is increased by 50% while active. That's what makes it so good. Because every time you hit with a heavy attack, you're getting that increased 50% more damage, plus you're getting that you also have that minor brutality applied as well for the same duration, or, well, not same, almost same duration as this. So this is 36 seconds, that is 20 seconds. And then, of course, you have things like Battle Roar. When you cast an ultimate ability, you restore health, magic, and stamina. 125 of this for the cost of the Dawnbreaker. That is going to give you the 50 health, 46 magicka, 46 stamina back every time. Really great. You also have the internal mountain. Is it Helping Hands? Yeah, Helping Hands. When you cast a non-stamina costing Earthen Heart ability, you restore 990 stamina. Well, guess what? Magicka ability, non-stamina, you get 990 stamina back when you cast it. So there's a lot of things here that allow this build to be very flexible with that stuff. Now, you notice I didn't cover CP yet. There's a reason why I didn't go over CP. It's using my standard setup. So I'm just going to just kind of breeze through this real quick. 56 Ironclad, 38 Medium Armor Focus, 31 Thick Skin, 43 Hardy, 43 Elemental Defender, 40 Bastion, 19 Quick Recovery, 40 Warlord, 16 Sprinter, 16 Bashing Focus, 75 Mooncalf, 43 Arcanist. Now, I would suggest if you don't want the mag recovery, you can put that 43 in Tenacity. This is going to give you more stamina back on your heavy attacks, but you're already doing so many, you don't really need it. And then moving on, 40 in the Tumbling, 40 in the Shadow Ward. And then, of course, moving over here, 40 in the Blessed, or 43 in the Blessed, 35 Physical Weapon Expert. This is also going to boost your light and heavy attack damage by 20%. So you actually get a 70% increase in your light attack damage and your heavy attack damage. So remember, in between your rotation, all your abilities, you're applying light attacks until you hit Blade Cloak. Once you hit Blade Cloak, you're heavy attacking. So you're constantly getting that 70% increase. Moving on over here, we have 56 in the Mighty. This increases physical, poison, disease damage by 12%. That includes light and heavy attacks. That includes your poison damage. So really good there. And then we have the 56 the Precise Strikes, increasing critical damage with healing and stamina abilities by 20%. And then we have 40 in the Thaumaturge, increasing your damage done with damage over time effects by 16%. So just a quick oversight of that. I want to see how you guys like that setup where I show the CP at the end. And then you guys can go from there. Alright. So, remember, this build is made to deal damage over time. It is not about just going in and slaughtering things. It's about applying those damage over time effects and area of effects as well. So you get that Noxious Breath, you get Deadly Cloak, you get the Endless Hail. You get those things doing all this different damage. Now, the other nice thing is that if you wanted to, if you wanted to make this thing a high-end AoE damage dealer, go to your weapon skills, go to dual wield, grab Whirling Blades. Now this is kind of like the same thing as the poison injection. When enemies are under 50% health, it deals 100% more damage, and it's a great spammable for when you're fighting lots of trash in a trial or dungeons. It's made for quick killing, and I would suggest, you know, if I was going to use it, I would just drop Deadly Cloak for the purpose of using this instead. Now, I know what you're going to say, why drop Deadly Cloak? It's a really great AoE. It does that damage over time. It also gives you that 20% damage reduction kind of thing. You know, it's really nice. The reason for that is Whirling Blades is just a pure out area of effect. Damage 6 meters around you. Everything you hit is going to take damage. It's great. So, just saying. But that's pretty much it for the build. Remember, your set too, the 5-piece set, also does AoE, area of effect damage as well. So you get a lot of area of effect damage. That's why those enemies died so fast. Was I had this, Noxious Breath, Dawnbreaker, and Arrow Barrage all applied to them. So that was just like, just melting. It's a great setup. I love this. I'm glad they added those sets to the game. They give a lot more interesting build capabilities. So, and again, that is it for the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. And also, when you do subscribe, make sure you click that notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. This helps my channel grow. It helps you guys see the video. It's really good for both of us. And then, last but not least, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.